the mother of Culhwch, a beautiful but temperamental lady, became unsettled in her wits during her pregnancy, strayed from civilized places, and returning to her senses near her time, found herself among a herd of pigs. She gave birth to her son in fright at that. The swineherds took the boy to court. That's how the boy got his name. Culhwch. It means pig run. But he was a king's son and a cousin to Arthur himself. He was fostered, as was the custom, to a high-born family. His mother, Golaedddydd, now became mortally ill. She required her royal husband to promise that he would never marry again until he would see a two-headed briar growing on her grave. Secretly, she had requested her old teacher to trim the grave to the ground every year. Golaedddydd died. The king went every morning to look at her grave to see if anything was growing there. At the end of the 7th year, Golaeddyd's old teacher forgot to trim the grave. In the spring thereafter, the king found a briar growing and asked his counsellors to advise him in the choice of a new wife. "How about the wife of King Doged?" was the word he was given. So they made war on King Doged. They killed him, they carried off his widow and his daughter. They took possession of King Doged's land. Also, very good land it was. Now, Doged's royal widow was nothing if not adaptable. What seemed to bother her most was that the man who had carried her off so vigorously appeared to have no children. Finally, she inquired, privily, of an old woman concerning this, saying, "Sad it is to be wedded to an infertile man. Neither stars nor portents deny him children," said the hag. "He shall have children, and by you I prophesy, my lady. God bless your generosity. Grieve no longer. God reward you. For he has one son." That night the lady asked her husband why he had concealed his son from her. "God knows I will conceal him from you no longer," said the king. He sent messengers to bring Culhwch back to the court. At a quiet moment soon after, Culhwch's stepmother suggested to him that her daughter would make a wonderful wife for any nobleman. "I do not wish to marry yet," said Culhwch. "I put a curse on you then," said his stepmother, "that your flesh shall never touch the flesh of a woman till you get Olwen, the daughter of Ysbaddadan, the king of all giants." Culhwch blushed at that. Passionate love and desire for Olwen possessed him, though he had never seen her. He blushed often after that. One day his father asked him why. "My stepmother has put a curse on me that my flesh will never touch the flesh of a woman till I get Olwen, daughter of Ysbaddadan, king of all giants." "That's easy for you to achieve, my son. Go to King Arthur, your cousin. Ask him to trim your hair as a cousinly act of affection, and while he is about it, ask him to accomplish this quest for you. He will not fail you." Culhwch rode off on a young grey steed, of fiery eye, of graceful pace, gold not leather about its head, gold not leather its saddle was, and Culhwch bore 2 silver spears, his sword in hand, an arm's length, it would wound the wind, and swifter drop than drops the wettest dew of June. On Culhwch's hip, gold hilted, a gold-edged sword with a gold cross on it. Many jeweled is the midnight sky, moon white, its ivory grip. By Culhwch there ran 2 dappled hounds, red gold, collars from shoulder to ear. The dog on the left would leap to the right, the dog on the right would leap to the left. Like 2 wild birds, they sported round him. The 4 hoofs of Culhwch's steed would hurl 4 clods above Culhwch's head, like 4 of summer's swooping swallows. A purple 4-cornered cloak he wore, a red gold apple at every corner, each apple worth 100 cows. The gold in his soft boots and in his lacings, from the knob of his knee to the nail of his toe, 300 cows would hardly buy. So easily the steed moved under him, no curl of Culhwch's hair was stirred, nor even the least tip of one hair. So Culhwch came riding to Arthur's gate. "Is there a gatekeeper?" "There is, and may you not keep your head on your shoulders for asking such a question," came the churlish reply from behind closed doors. "I am gatekeeper to Arthur every 1st of January, and my subordinates for the rest of the year are Hiandau, Gogigur, Llaesgenim, and Penpingion, who hops on his head to save his feet, never standing nor lying down, but like a rolling stone on the floor of Arthur's court." "Open the gate," said Culhwch. "I will not," said the gatekeeper. "Why will you not?" said Culhwch. "Knife has gone into meat, drink into drinking horn. There is already a great crowd in the court of Arthur. No one may enter but the son of a king or a man of skill who comes with his craft. You'll get food for your dogs, grain for your horse. You'll get peppered chops and brimming beakers of wine. You'll get fare enough for 50 in the hostel down the road, where strangers who have no right to insist on Arthur's hospitality are accommodated. You'll be just as well off there as Arthur is in his own court, I assure you. You'll get songs to entertain you, and a woman to sleep with you, and tomorrow, when the gates are opened to permit the exit of the thronging crowds who have descended on us today, they shall be opened to you first of all, and tomorrow you can seat yourself anywhere you may choose in Arthur's hall." "None of this will do," said Culhwch. "If you open the door now, well and good. If not, I will voice an ill report of your lord and yourself throughout the land. Further, I will shout 3 shouts at this gate that will be heard as clearly southerly on the moors of Cornwall, northerly on the shores of the Scots north, and upon the accursed ridge in Ireland." All pregnant women in the court will miscarry, and all other women here, from the time they hear these shouts, will never conceive at all. Whatever uproar you may raise for the privileges of Arthur's court, you shall not enter, said the gatekeeper, adding hastily, not until I speak to Arthur first. The gatekeeper, Culhwch, strode off and flung open the door of Arthur's feasting hall. What news from the gate? Asked the king in some surprise. Culhwch drew himself up to his full height, and in the grand manner of Taliesin, he proclaimed, 2 parts of my life have gone, and 2 parts of your own. I have been in Caer Se and Caer Ase, in Sach and Salach, in Lotor and Votor, and Greater and Lesser India. I have been in the battle of the 2 Enirs, when 12 hostages were taken from Culhwch. I have been once in Europe. I have been once in Africa, Corsica likewise, in Caer Brithuch and Brithach and Nerthach. I have been at hand when you killed the entire army of Glace, son of Merin, and when you killed Black Mill, son of Diggim. I have been right beside you when you conquered Greece altogether. I have been, I declare, in Caer Oeth and Anoeth, the dark prisons under stone, and in Caer Nevenhir of the 9 natures. Yes, yes, snapped Arthur, but what news from the gate? Fair lords we encountered in performance of these exploits, continued Culhwch, not a whit abashed. But I never saw a man so noble as he I have just left standing at the gate in the rain. If you came to me walking, go back running, roared Arthur. Bring this man in. Servants, bring him a gold cup and keep it full. Give him some chops. It was the custom to dismount at the gate, but Culhwch, when the door was opened to him, rode straight into the hall, dogs and all. Greetings, Lord of kings in this island, he said. May the low part of your house be no worse than the high. May this greeting reach equally your fighting men, your companions, and your warlords. May no one here be deprived of this my greeting. May your fame, great king, resound throughout Britain. Greetings to you also, chieftain. Sit here by me, among the warriors. You shall have the privileges of a prince when you are here. I did not come here for recognition, but to ask one boon of you. You shall have whatever your tongue can utter, while the wind blows with the wetness of rain, and the full extent of your mind's invention, while sun lifts day to the last ebb of land, except my sword, my shield, my spear, or my wife Gwenhwyvar. I ask first that my hair be trimmed. Oh, you'll get that, said Arthur. And taking a golden comb and silver-handled scissors, he commenced to comb and trim the hair of Culhwch. But as he was about this, he felt his heart warm to Culhwch, and he said to him, I know in my heart we must be kindred. Tell me who you are. I will. I am Culhwch, son of Kilith, son of Calithon Uledig, and of Golaethith my mother. Then, said Arthur, you are my cousin. Claim what you will of me. Help me to win the hand of Olwen, daughter of Ysbaddadan, king of all giants. Well, said Arthur, I never heard of Olwen or of this king of giants, but I will send messengers to seek news of her. It may take some time to find her. I will give you from tonight until a year from tomorrow night." At the end of a year, no news had been obtained. Culhwch became disgruntled and threatened to leave, reciting satires on Arthur's court throughout the island. But Arthur's great warrior Kay made this placation to him, saying, "Do not be so hasty. Journey with us till you are satisfied that this maiden Olwen is not to be found in the world, or until we find her." These were the powers of Kay. He could retain in sea deep 1 breath 9 days and nights. Beyond herbs or healer's skill, any wound he would inflict. Shadow light, Kay could step, or seem tree tall, at will. Whatever Kay gripped would remain dry, even in pelting rain from the heat of his hand, and in falling snow the snap of his fingers could kindle fire. And with them came Bedwyr, who never shied from any exploit in which Kay was engaged. He was the most beautiful man in Britain after Arthur, and Drych, son of Cibdar. If he fought one-handed, 3 armed men could not best him. He gave with 1 spear thrust 1 death and 9 defences. With them went Cynddeled the guide, to whom all lands were as his own land, and Gurhir the interpreter, to whom all tongues were as his own tongue, and Gwalchmai, who accomplished every quest he undertook, and Menw, who was a master of every kind of magic. These heroes set forth upon their journey, and they journeyed till they reached a huge plain, where grazed a flock of sheep as numerous as the white waves of the sea, and there on a mound sat a sheepdog as big as a cart-horse, and a shepherd who was not undersized himself.
This was the shepherd's usual habit, to let no warrior pass unharmed. This was the strength of the shepherd's breath, to burn branches and brushwood down.
"Go and speak to him," said Kay to Gurhir. "I promise only to go as far as you do," said Gurhir to Kay. "Fear not," said Menw. "I will put an enchantment on the dog, so that he cannot harm us." With some caution they went forward, and they gave the shepherd a most courteous greeting.
"How are you, noble shepherd?"
"Apart from my wife, no wound annoys me," rumbled the shepherd.
"Whose sheep are these?"
"These are the sheep of Ysbaddadan, king of all giants. And whose sheep are you?"
"We are messengers from Arthur, High King of Britain, sent to seek the hand of Olwen."
And they told him their names. "More fools you," laughed the shepherd. "No cock upon that quest has ever lived to crow about it." Culhwch offered the shepherd, as a token of their goodwill, his gold armband, which the shepherd with a guffaw squeezed onto the little finger of his glove, and still laughing, strode off home to his wife. "Where'd you get that ring, husband?" "Off a corpse the tide washed in." But the wife was not satisfied with such an answer, and she was not long in wheedling out the whole story. She knew then that Culhwch was her nephew, for she was the sister of Golaethith, and she determined to see him for herself. As she ran joyfully towards these knights of Arthur, with her arms outstretched to hug them, Kay, the first she came to grips with, had the presence of mind to snatch up a log between himself and her, and such was the ardour of her embrace that she made sap run from the log like whey from cheese. "God knows," muttered Kay, "but for this log, that hug, you hag, would have squeezed the last squawk out of my bag." Unoffendable, Culhwch's auntie invited them home for a meal, and after it, as they were conversing of this and that, she opened a cupboard by the fire, and a beautiful yellow-haired boy stepped out. "What a pity to hide such a boy," said Gurhir. "He's the only one I have left," said the shepherd's wife. "Ysbaddadan has killed 23 of my sons, and my only hope is to keep this one out of his sight." "Let him remain with me," said Kay, "and he will not be slain unless I am. Help us to win Olwen, for Culhwch, your nephew." For God's sake, venture no further with that. Ysbaddadan does not know you are here. Go home while you can. But insisting they would not leave until they had seen the maiden, they at length found out that the shepherd's wife was Olwen's old nurse, and that Olwen was in the habit of visiting her every Saturday to wash her hair. They gave their word of honour that they would do Olwen no harm. The shepherd's wife at last agreed to arrange their meeting with her.
Olwen's dress was flame red, red gold and garnets about her neck, yellow her hair as yellow broom, sea foam no whiter than her white skin, her fingers white as a waterflower, her eyes bird bright, her swan white breasts, her cheeks blush like foxglove flowers, filled every man with love of her. Filled any man with love of her.
4 white clovers sprang in her footsteps where she walked. It was for this that she was called by her name, Olwen. It means white track. As soon as Culhwch saw her, he said, "Maiden, it is you and you alone I love. Bind your life with mine, darling, and come away with me." "Speak no more such words," whispered Olwen. "I cannot go away with you. It is in the nature of my father's fate that he will die if I ever marry. But if you go to my father and ask for my hand in marriage, I will give you this advice. Promise to procure for him whatever he will ask of you. Any hesitation will be certain death to you all. It is also certain that my father will now know that you are here. You must go to him." They went with her to the fortress of Ysbaddadan, and entered after her the hugest gate they had ever seen, and followed her into the hall of the king of all giants, and they found him asleep and snoring.
"Greetings, Ysbaddadan, king of all giants."
Who speaks?" grunted Ysbaddadan. "Where are my useless gatekeepers?"
"We are messengers from Arthur, seeking the hand of your daughter, Olwen, for Culhwch, son of Killith."
"Why do I bother paying servants? Why do I bother feeding attendants? Prop up the forks under my eyelids so I can see my future son-in-law." So they propped great pitchforks up under the giant's eyelids. The giant scowled at them with his stone-grey eyes, saying, "Come back tomorrow." They turned to leave, but as they did, Ysbaddadan picked up the nearest of 3 poisoned spears he had propped beside him, and he hurled it at them. Bedouir caught it and hurled it back. It pierced Ysbaddadan through the kneecap, and Ysbaddadan said, "Uncivil pest of a son-in-law, this! Ever the worse I shall walk uphill. The poisoned spear stings like a wasp sting. Damn the smith that forged it, and damn his anvil." The following day they came to him again.
"Ysbaddadan, king of all giants, we seek your daughter's hand for Culhwch."
Her 4 great-grandmothers and her 4 great-grandfathers are yet alive. I must ask their counsel. Come back tomorrow. They turned to leave, but as they did, Ysbaddadan snatched up the second of his poisoned spears, and he hurled it at them. Menw caught it and hurled it back. It pierced Ysbaddadan in the hollow below his ribs. A double-damned, ungentlemanly son-in-law this. Like the bite of a horse leech, the cold iron cuts me. Damn the forge that heated it. Every time I walk uphill, I'll have heartburn. No, guttic, and a wee bit of indigestion. The third day they came to him again.
Throw no more spears at us, Ysbaddadan. Seek not your own death before your time.
Where are my servants? Prop up my eyelids with the forks again. They did that, and as they did, Ysbaddadan snatched up the third poisoned spear and hurled it at them. Culhwch caught it and hurled it back. It pierced Ysbaddadan in the eyeball. A bloody cur of a son-in-law, if you ask me. The poison iron bites me like a mad dog. Against the wind my eyes will water. As long as I live, my sight will be a mite less than perfect now. Severe headaches will plague me, and giddiness at new moon. The next day they came to him again. Ysbaddadan said to them, Come forward, the one that seeks my daughter. Culhwch came forward. I will set you tasks, and when they are accomplished you will be married to my daughter. Out of the wood that surrounds my fortress, a field must be cleared, and the brush burnt and ploughed under. That field must be sowed with grain, it must sprout, ripen, be harvested, and be ground into corn. And all this must be accomplished by the dew fall of tomorrow's first light. This will be the making of your wedding feast. This will be easy for me, though you might think it difficult, said Culhwch. Though you achieve that, this you will not. Your ploughman in this ploughing must be a Mython, son of Dawn, first father of all ploughmen in the world. He will not come, nor can you force him. And your smith for this ploughing must be Custennin, son of Dawn, first father of all smiths in the world. He will not come, nor can you force him. And your oxen in this ploughing must be the 2 oxen of Wilwyn, with the ox Melin Gwanwyn, and the speckled ox that once for he Gadarn drew the Avank from the waters, so the lake of floods burst forth no more. And with these the oxen that were once the kings Ninyo and Pebio, that were changed to oxen by the great God for their vainglorious pride of cattle ownership, that laid waste the island of the mighty to the maraudings of Herita, the thief of beards. That will be easy for me to achieve, said Culhwch, though you might think it difficult. Though you achieve that, this you will not. Drink you will brew from the 9 times sweeter honey than the honey of the first sunlight, kindled by the pure one from the glint of his own eye. You will not get it, No vessel will hold this drink, but the vessel of Llwyr ap Llwyrian. He will not give it, nor can you force it from him. Food for this feast must be held in the basket of Gwyddnau Garan here, for it is sure that the basket will feed the men and women of the world 3 nines at a time. Gwyddnau will not give it, nor can you force it from him. The drink for this feast must be served from the horn of the Gododdin of the north, from the castle Dolorous by the Mount of Maidens. They will not give it, nor can you force them. The music for this feast must be played by the harp of Terti, that plays alone. Terti will not give it, nor can you force it from him.
This will be easy for me to achieve, said Culhwch, though you might think it difficult.
Though you achieve that, this you will not. You must fetch to the wedding the birds of Rhiannon, Adan Llonach, Adan Lanach, Adan Thuinach, that sing of war and peace in war, and of the freeing of the heart. You must get for the feast to boil the meat, the cauldron of Duirnach, that once healed the dead of death itself, till it was broke by Efnisien, when Bran the Blessed went to fight Matholach of Ireland. You will not get them.
This will be easy for me to achieve, though you might think it difficult.
Though you get that, this you will not. This task I set you, most difficult of all. My hair and beard must be shaved, no more than you asked of your kinsman Arthur, you might think. But no scissors nor comb nor razor will do, but those that hang between the ears of the great boar Culhwch. No hound will hunt that boar, but Dridwin, the whelp of great son of Eri, no leash will hold that hound, but the leash of course can't Eowyn. No collar will hold the leash, but the collar of Canastir can clow. No chain will hold the leash to the collar, but the chain of Culhwch Canastir. No huntsman in the world will hold the chain, the leash, the collar, and the hound to hunt Culhwch, but Mabon, son of Modron, the greatest huntsman in the world, who was stolen when he was 3 days old, between his mother and the wall, and prisoned beyond the reach of love. these things, though you think them difficult, will be easy for me to achieve. And with the help of my kinsman Arthur, said Culhwch, I will achieve them all. And I will marry your daughter, Olwen, and this will be the ending of your life. They returned to Arthur, and with all his company they set out upon these quests. And they inquired amongst themselves which of these quests should be the first. And they decided that the first to accomplish should be the seeking of Mabon Vab Modron. And to inquire of his whereabouts, they went to the oldest bird of the forest, the black bird of Culhwch. And Gur here, the interpreter of tongues, addressed the blackbird, saying,
Wise and ancient bird of the forest, know you aught of Mabon? Mabon, who when he was 3 days old was stolen from between his mother and the wall.
And the bird replied, In my first feather, I first came here, to these green woods where I make my home, and for to keep the sharp edge on my beak, I found this old smith's anvil for a sharpening stone. Now only the scrap of this anvil remains, though no hammer beat it, but my beak alone. But in all these years, past and gone, I never heard of this man, Mabon. But if anyone would know, it would be the stag of Redunvre. So they set out to find him, and Gur here addressed him, saying,
Wise and ancient stag of the mountain, know you aught of Mabon? Mabon, who when he was 3 days old was stolen from between his mother and the wall.
And the stag replied, A greenhorn buck I first came here, when this ancient oak was a verdant sprout. I have seen it stretch forth 100 boughs. I have seen it wither. I have seen it rot, till only the stump of the oak remains, and that no bigger than my forefoot. But all these years, past and gone, I never heard of this man, Mabon. But if anyone would know, it would be the eagle of Gwernabwy. So they went to the eagle, and Gur here addressed him, saying,
Wise and ancient eagle of kingdoms, know you aught of Mabon? Mabon, who when he was 3 days old was stolen from between his mother and the wall.
And the eagle said, Long and since, when I first came here, this crag of mine was a crag indeed. Every evening I could peck at the stars as they whirled in their fires about my head, and my talons have worn the rock away to this rump of a boulder on which I perch. But in all these years, past and gone, I never heard of this man, Mabon. But if anyone would know, it would be the salmon of Culhwch. So they went to the salmon, and Gurhir addressed him, saying,
Wise and ancient, salmon of wisdom, know you aught of Mabon? Mabon, who when he was 3 days old was stolen from between his mother and the wall.
And the salmon replied, I will tell you as much as I know, and that is more than any other can tell. I have swum east, I have swum west, I have swum in the deeps below Gloucester's walls, and I there heard such sighs and lamentations as ever were heard since the world began, that you may believe that this was Mabon. I'll carry you straight to the dark prison. And Kai and Gurhir rode astride the salmon's shoulders until they reached the walls of the dark prison at Caerloyw, which is now called Gloucester. They called to the prisoner within, Who are you here confined that cries and laments so sadly? And learning that this was Mabon, they accomplished his release. And they accomplished every difficult feat that had been set them by Ysbaddadan in procuring the dogs, the leashes, and all else necessary to hunt the giant boar Culhwch. They sent Menu of the many skills into Ireland to ascertain the whereabouts of Culhwch. It was not hard to get news of him. He had already laid waste 1/3 of Ireland. Menu, learning that Culhwch had made a lair for himself upon the accursed ridge, turned himself into a great hawk. He hoped to make off with the razor, comb, or scissors that hung between the ears of Culhwch, the only implements that could be used to trim the hair and beard of Ysbaddadan. As he sped towards the accursed ridge, he could see against the skyline the hump of Culhwch's back from many miles' distance. Some say Culhwch had been a king turned by God into a boar for his sins. Some say he was a kind of god or demon himself, but he was bigger than 7 horses, more ferocious than 7 lions. His lust for destruction grew 7 times the greater with every 7 men he destroyed, and 7 of his young dwelt with him. As Menu fluttered swiftly the length of the enormous black-bristled spine, there gleamed before him the great comb, the razor, and the scissors, silver-bright and long as spears. Between the 2 huge black ears of the boar that quivered to the east and west of him like 2 black sails, he was able to grasp no more than 1 hair. Even so, poison from the boar spattered upon him. He was marked by it until the day of his death. Arthur assembled the warriors of the 3 islands of Britain, and of their adjacent islands, and of France, Brittany, Normandy, and the land of summer. It was with these multitudes that Arthur came to the accursed ridge. Whatever approach the Irish armies made in a day and in a night, another 1/5 of Ireland was destroyed by Culhwch. In a new day, Arthur's armies marched towards Culhwch in their turn, and every step of their advance was death and misery to them. Arthur sent Gurhir the interpreter to parley with the giant boar, and Culhwch gave him this reply: "By the name of the God who caused me this grief, I have nothing to say to Arthur. He will never get the razor, the comb, or the scissors while I am alive. Tomorrow I will swim to Britain, and there I will wreak such destruction as will give you cause to rue that ever you hunted me out." And so it was. The next day Culhwch swam ashore with his young in West Wales. Throughout the length and breadth of Britain, Mabon, son of Modron, the greatest huntsman in the world, hunted him with the 2 enchanted dogs that had been obtained for him by the questing of Arthur's knights. And in that hunting Culhwch slew many of Arthur's greatest heroes, till finally Mabon hunted Culhwch to the shores of the Severn. And there Arthur and the champions of Britain fell upon him, and together they managed to drive him into deep waters. Mabon snatched the razor from between his ears. Culhwch the Wild carried off the scissors. But before anyone could grasp the comb, Culhwch was able to regain his footing, and reaching land, neither horse nor hound could keep up with him until he reached Cornwall. Whatever hardship Arthur and his warriors had from Culhwch was but play to the taking of the comb. But take it they did at last. And they drove Culhwch into the sea, and where he went from that time is not known. Arthur then obtained and performed all that Ysbaddadan had said to them. Even the blood of the tar black witch, daughter of the ice white witch, from the valley of grief in the north of hell, Arthur obtained in the fulfillment of his promise to Culhwch. So it was that they returned to the court of Ysbaddadan. They clipped and they shaved Ysbaddadan. They shaved his flesh and skin to the bone, and the 2 ears of his head. "Have you been shaved, Ysbaddadan?" asked Culhwch. "Is your daughter, Olwen, now mine?" "I have been shaved," said Ysbaddadan. "Olwen is now yours. Though but for Arthur, you never would have gained her. Now is the time to end my life." They cut the head from Ysbaddadan then. That night, Culhwch slept with Olwen. As long as he lived, she was his only wife.